Hello, hello, it's Stephanie here from HMO Heaven again, and it's our HMO Heroes, and we're back with an Ask the Angels Q&A session, and we've got a great question tonight, so I think you're really gonna love this and get great value out of it. It is how to get rent-to-rent deals from landlords. And as you know, rent to rent is a great strategy. It can really change your life. We went full time with it 2.5 years ago, and it's been massive for us. And I'm going to talk to you about some of the benefits as we go through today. Some of the benefits, the cash flow that we've achieved in this short period, and how you can make it work as well. But it is difficult getting started. And at the very beginning, there can be lots of challenges. And it's just a case of knowing what to do when, to bring it all together, to make the magic happen, to get your first deal. And it's really much simpler after that. So I just want to say a quick hi to Paul, Ryan and Sean, I can see are watching. If you're watching as well, give me a thumbs up and I'll give you a little shout out. So because we're live, it means that if you've got a question as well, you can ask that question in the comments and I will answer those questions. All the ones that we've got time for tonight, I will answer, and then I'll come on the next time and answer any that we don't get time for tonight. So, oh, thanks. Somebody's given me a love heart. Thank you so much. We love that. Okay, so I'm going to get straight in and crack on with Jordan Baldwin's question, because I know lots of you will totally be able to relate to this, and certainly when we started, we found this as well. So this is Jordan's question, which I've also put in the side of the video. I don't know if you can see the text that's next to the video, and this is the question that we had in from Jordan. He says, hi, I'm a rent-to-renter in Birmingham who has done lots of training, and currently I'm looking for deals. However, I would appreciate if you could help me. I can see single let landlords using our service because we can offer them more rent due to turning into an HMO. However, that's in capitals. However, when it's already an HMO, I struggle to see why the landlords would use us, as we can't give them what they're getting now because we need to make a profit, brackets, minimum £100 per room per month. Every offer I give to landlords on Spare Room about using my service, every single time they say the offer is too low, so they won't use us. Have you got any advice, please? Because I'm very stuck. Okay, so that is a great question. If you've also experienced that response from landlords, just click the thumbs up button to agree. So yeah, it's a common problem. The first issue in this scenario is that you're going in cold. Cold sales are always more difficult than warm sales. So let's say you're an HMO landlord, you've got your property on Spare Room, you're charging £400 a room for your 5-bedroom property, so you're expecting £2,000. That expectation is set in your mind, £2,000, this property is worth £2,000, okay? So when you pop up, who the person doesn't know, has never, you know, you've never met this person before, you don't know who they are, you're the landlord and you're sitting there, oh, this guy's a joker, he's coming in with, you know, say for example £1,500 or whatever. So that's why it's not working, Jordan. It's nothing, it's not what you're doing, it's just that cold scenario with an offer that's too low. That's why that's happening. So there's two things that I want to say now, is that first of all, you think that when somebody is running an HMO, that they're getting top rent for it, that they're actually achieving more than what you could offer as a rent-to-renter. And that's not true. That's the first thing to say. I'm going to give you two examples that have happened to us recently. These are exact examples from landlords who've called us up recently. These are the details of what they're actually receiving. And you know, it would be easy for a rent-to-rent to offer more. So I'm going to explain that to you first so you get an idea of what goes on. And then what I'm going to come back to you is how to deal with this situation that you're experiencing on spare room so that you get a better result. Okay, and hi Jordan, I can see that you're on. I'm glad you're seeing this live, Jordan. And what you said is this is a massive barrier for me and it's holding me back. Okay, well after this video it won't be holding you back anymore and you'll know exactly what to do to achieve the results you want to achieve. So I'm going to read, oh, this isn't working very well, is it? No. Right, I'm going to read this out as examples of two landlords that we've talked to in the last couple of weeks. So one of them has a 7-bedroom property. So what I call the mythical gross rent. This is the rent that if every room was rented out at the rent rate which they're looking for, which is £350 a room, which is, you know, a bit lower than we would hope for. Then they would be getting £2,450 a month. So this is what landlords have got in their mind. We're all human. That's the number we've got in our mind. The next thing is that currently they've only got 3.5 rooms let out because it's 4 rooms let out, but one person's paying a low rent. So the actual gross rent that they're receiving is £1,160. Next, they've got management fees. Now, again, you've got to explain this to the landlords that it's not 10% plus VAT, it's actually around 15% that most landlords, minimum 15% that most landlords would be paying 15% of the gross rent that's being achieved because you've got the 10%, then you've got the VAT, then you've got the tenancy fine fees, and you've got the additions onto the maintenance and so on. That's going to, at a minimum, be 15% of the gross rent. So they've got 174, which is the agency fees that they're paying. They've got maintenance to pay. These figures I actually got from the landlord, £150 council tax. I'm not going to read it all out because it's kind of boring. The bottom line is that at the end of all that, the costs of running that HMO are 676. And because it's not fully let, it's only bringing in 1,160. Then the estimated net rent there is 484, and that's before the person pays their mortgage. So you can see that person's actually losing money. Now this is on an HMO, a 7-bed property, 5 years after the refurb, and this is the problem, that when she first refurbished this property, had it let out with a letting agent, it was doing fine. Now 5 years on, this is the problem. 4 people in, only 3.5 paying. So that's one scenario that you can easily offer more than 484 for that property, and so it's just digging down into the landlord experience so you know how to make your offer work. I'm going to give one more example. They're going to tell you what to do, so stay with me, stay with me. Right, this is actually also a really nice property. It was 10 years after the refurb. It's been well maintained. It had 4 people in it. So his mythical gross rent, if it was always let out at the rent that he was wanting, which was slightly lower again, it would be 1,825. Now the rent he's currently receiving is 1,450. Then after all the costs, management costs, because he's using a letting agent, council tax, gas, electricity, blah, 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 his total cost is £744 to run the HMO. Then his estimated net rent is 706. Right, so again, we were easily able to offer more than that and make good money because our rents will be higher as well. So just wanted to explain that is how we can offer more, because most HMOs are not running at their optimum level. Are you with me? So therefore it means that you're able to offer more. So as I said, don't assume, I've got my notes down here so that I don't miss anything off, because I want to make sure that you've got everything you need. Don't assume that because they're already an HMO that they're getting the rent listed. Even in spite of when they have, even in spite of that, even knowing their costs, because they must know their own costs, when they're getting £200 gross, even if you were to offer £1,500 on spare room, they still think, hey, hang on a minute, why is it £500 short? So that's because you're comparing apples with pears. You're comparing the gross rent they're comparing the gross rent with the net rent. And that's what you've got to show them. What you have to remind them is that gross rent, I mean, you wouldn't use these words, that gross rent is a mythical creature because that's actually never seen, right? The bills are real. And at the moment, the landlord can't see the bills. So how you to get around this is you've got to warm up. You've either got to warm up your cold leads, these cold leads on spare room, or you've got to get warm leads. And I'm going to show you both options. So first of all, how do you warm up the cold leads on spare room? How can you make it so that you are able to go in with your offer and it's not totally dismissed? So it's the 3 B's. Number 1, you believe in you, believe in the value of the service that you're offering and its value to the person who you're talking to. So you know your value and show your value in everything you do. So you believe in yourself, you be the best version of yourself with no BS. Because then people can totally relate to that and know that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And the last one is be persistent, because you've got to expect that when you're asking the landlords, a lot of people are going to say no. And you're persistent because you're looking for the one that is the right fit with you, the one that's going to get you off the starting blocks, the one that's going to be your first step to financial freedom. So you're looking for the one and you've got to be persistent because most deals are not going to work. So you've got to keep going until you find the one that works. So going into the spare room scenario now, what the landlords want is they want to let their properties quickly. They want to let them ideally to a long-term tenant, and they want to let them to somebody who's going to look after the property and pay the rent on time. So essentially, that is what you've got to offer when you're on spare room. Now, I personally find it's better to do this on the phone. So if there's a phone number on their spare room ad, I would give them a call rather than stick on the email, which can make things a bit more stilted. So the first thing is you're just going in, I've seen your property on spare room, okay. We're looking for, say if it's a 5-bedroom, we're looking for 5-bedroom properties. We pay the guaranteed rent, even if the rooms are not full. We pay all the bills. I'm looking at the notes, but normally I know all this off by heart, but there's something about having the video camera looking at you. We pay all the utility bills, the council tax, the gas, electricity, water, Wi-Fi, TV license. We pay all the maintenance, and we ensure your property is professionally managed and maintained. Now, what's normally going to happen with that is after you've said that, the landlords are going to cut to the chase. And the most important thing that they want to know, and I'm sure you found this, Jordan, is this what happens, that they immediately go in with, well, how much rent are you going to pay me? So here's the important answer to that question is, the rent that we're going to pay you is going to match the net rent that you're currently paying after all the bills. Now that's an important thing to say. So the rent that we're going to pay you is going to match the net rent that you're currently receiving after paying all the bills. And we're going to pay all the bills for you. So for the landlord, it's total certainty. They know what rent they're going to get every month. And also, they know that they're not going to have additional costs that they weren't expecting. So if it's a very bad winter, or the winter's extended into January, February, March, or what have you, and the tenants have got the heating on 24/7 tropical, that bill's not coming to them. So that's all the things that you're showing that your pears and these are apples. So your rent is not to be compared with other people's rent. You're going to give them the best net rent, and it's going to be certain. So what I often say on that call, after I say that we're going to match the net rent that they're currently getting after the bills, that the next thing I say is that it's just a matter of agreeing a rent that you're happy with. And if I come and look at the property, I'll be able to tell you what guaranteed rent we can offer you. Now, really, nobody is going to turn that down, or few people are going to turn that down. And we find that, you know, we do get a lot of viewings. Now, depending how the conversation is going, because remember, this is a cold lead, this is a person you've called, it's not a person calling you. I would then ask, well, we don't call people cold, but in this instance, I would then ask, can I ask you a few questions about the property? And then I would go into all my property questions, because that's going to help us. That's going to give us a lot of information there. Knowing what the costs of the property are, what the history of the property is, who's managing the property, if the property's full, if there's any problem tenants. We've got a list of questions that we go through when we've got any landlords that are on the phone with us, and they're usually really happy to tell you about all this stuff, well, when they're calling you. So if you want me to delve into the questions, I've got the questions here as well. Just let me know in the comments and I can put those out there. But for now, what I'm going to do is move on. So to summarize, Jordan, and anyone else who's in this position that you're trying to get your first lead and you're on spare room, you've to help the landlord to see that the gross rent is different to the net rent. You're not preaching or teaching. What you're doing is you're just saying, I can match the net of what you're currently paying after all the bills, okay? And then you're offering to come round and have a look and let them know what that net rent's going to be. And you've also set out to them what your service is, which is that it's full management, and basically it's total peace of mind for them for 5 years, or however many years it is. It's total peace of mind for the length of the contract, and all the bills are paid and the minor maintenance is done. Okay, so that's how you get to a viewing. And if you get the possibility, ask about the property. So that's how to deal with a cold lead. So if you've got any questions about that or anything's unclear, just let me know. So compare that to dealing with a warm lead. So this is what I think that you really should be doing, Jordan, and anyone else who's looking for their first deal. Compare that to a warm lead where the landlord calls you. You send them a letter in the post in which you demonstrate your value and what you can offer, and when they call you, it's much easier, because nobody calls you because they're delighted with the service that they're already receiving and because they've got no problems at all. Everyone's calling you for a reason, and all you then have to do is find out what the reason is, and then you're able to solve the problem. So it's just a much easier and better conversation. So how to make that happen, okay? How to make that happen. You know what I'm going to say. You know we're known for the perfectly crafted magnetic marketing letter to landlords, where you're speaking directly to your perfect customer, and you know from all your other conversations with landlords and from our own experience as landlords, we know exactly what problems they're facing in our local area. So the first thing is that we've gotten 2/3 of all our properties through marketing letters. And watch right to the end of this video, where I'm going to share with you how to get our current marketing letter. We're going to put together a little pack where it explains to you how to write your own marketing letters, what to put in them. Our marketing letters are constantly evolving, and we've got a new type of letter that we're doing now, which I want to share with you. And I'll talk to you about that at the end, how to get hold of that, because these letters are converting really well for us. Now, we send out to a very niche set of landlords. There are only 300 in our local area that are in the exact areas that we want to deal with, and at the exact number of rooms that we're looking for. So we don't go wide, we go narrow, and we get a really good response on the letters front. And some people have been receiving our letters for, you know, over a year and a half when they start calling us, you know, and that's fine. So you have to, two things you've got to do: keep evolving the type of letter that you're writing, and also keep sending the letters. So I'm just going to talk 2 secs on the sort of massive returns that you can get on sending these marketing letters. So we've spent less than £2,000 on these, sending the letters. Over, maybe about a year and a half, 2 years we've been sending the letters. And this has brought in, at the moment, I've just totaled this up today, just over £23,000 a month. This is gross. 23 grand a month, just over £276,000 a year, and over 1,300,000 and odd over the 5-year contracts that we have. So, and on top of that, we've got, at the moment, we're working through 5 inquiries. That could bring on another 3 properties. How we're looking at things at the moment, I think 2 are not quite right for us. We're looking at another 3 properties to bring on an additional just over 6 grand a month. And this is in addition to the properties that we already own, or that we got a personal introduction to, that we were referred to in terms of management through a letting agent or through a friend or what have you. So the most calls that we've ever had from one marketing letter was 22 people called us after a letter that was sent to 300 people. So in direct marketing terms, that's a fantastic return. Remember, for each letter, you only need one person. You only need one deal to really to make money and to make the whole thing worthwhile. So just wanted to say that, because you might feel like, well, so many people are sending letters, is it worthwhile? And lots of people are getting no response to their letters now. I need to just quickly talk to you about that. One of our landlords, he saves up all the letters that he gets through. He saves up all the letters he gets through from different companies who want to rent out his property on this same basis. And you know what? He sent me through, I don't want to show them on camera in case I give away anyone's branding or something, but he sends me through all these letters. And rather, he sends me through, he brings them when we have meetings or whatever, he brings the letters. And when I look through them, 80% are virtually the same wording. It's just the same wording. So it's really important to have something different, have something unique, and be clearly solving a problem. So you make your letters all about them and their problems. So for example, empty rooms, that's a problem. Tenant calls at day and night, that's a problem. These are the sort of things, maybe each letter can have one theme. And these are the things I'll be talking about in this letter writing pack, so that you can write letters that are totally different from other people's letters. And we'll put our letters in this pack as well as an example of what's really worked for us. And then you can adapt that to make it really, really work for you and for your area, because each area has its different challenges. And that's what you need to focus on. So you've got to think there's the head side of things. They don't want to be losing money through the empty rooms. They don't want to be taking the calls at the weekend. They don't want all the hassle with the maintenance. And there's the heart things, that they want to be proud of their property investment. They want their property investment to work well without them. And you're offering both of those things. And those things need to come over in the letter that you send. And if you can make that happen, you can connect with people's inner desires. It's not just about the it's not just about what's on the surface. It's about being that person or that company who's delivering something special. So, you know, in our case, we say total peace of mind, because when your property is with us, you don't have to worry about anything. For those 5 years, we will worry about everything. So things like the other day, we were at a property, and this property is being managed by a letting agent, and the landlord was showing us around. And the landlord said to us that she was going to the property on a weekly basis to do the recycling and cleaning, which is ridiculous, because the letting agent, who's taking the 10% plus VAT fee, which, as I've told you, is like 15% minimum in actual fact, is taking that fee, but has told her that they're not responsible for the recycling. They're not responsible for that. So when we do it, we do everything. The person will have to go there to clean or work out the recycling. So we do everything. So it's apples and pears, you know. And we can still offer that person better money than she's getting there at the moment. So it's crazy. You've got to have real confidence in what your offering is, that you're delivering a better service than is out there at the moment from some of the letting agencies. And the people, the landlords who are calling you, you know for sure that whatever service they're receiving at the moment is not up to par, otherwise they wouldn't be on the phone. So just a couple tips when the landlords call you. It's very much the same. You give your proposal in 1 or 2 sentences, what you're offering, and then you ask them, Can you tell me a bit about the property? And then you go through all the questions that we ask to, you go through all the questions that we ask to the landlord so that we can find out more about the properties. Now, Jordan, just want to ask you, has that covered what you were looking for? And also, I can see Ryan, Sean, Peter, Mark, Paul. If you've got any other questions, let me know and I'll come to them in a minute. And meantime, I'll just run through the questions that we ask while the landlord is on the phone with us. If they give us permission, because the first thing is, after you've got their name, okay, and you want to say, where did you hear about us? Because sometimes it will be the letters, but sometimes it'll be another reason they've been referred by somebody or so on. So it's good to find out where they've heard from. And the most important question that we ask them is, what made you call today? So when you know that, that's really going to help you to tailor your service to what the need is in this specific case. Obviously, you go through the property address and then the number of bedrooms, showers, toilets, receptions, whether it's got an HMO license, how many people the license is for, depending what your area you're in and if it needs a license. And then you want to go through the current situation, if it's being managed by an agent, what the fees are, what tenants are in at the moment, what the rents are, how much are they approx, and you know, just so you've got a really good picture of what's going on with the house before you even step up for the viewing. But again, all these things are much easier to find out when you're on a warm call. That's when somebody is calling you. Now, I know that we did have another question, and it was, I'll just come to it in a minute. It was, what is it better to do a property that's currently an HMO, or is it better to do a property that's currently not an HMO? And what I think in that situation is, it's just pros and cons on both sides. In some areas where it's Article 4 or under the new regime that just started, if it's 5 people or more, you know, the property will need a license. And therefore it's going over the hurdles to get a license. If you're dealing with an already licensed property, then you're likely to have fewer costs because it's already up to HMO licensing standards, you would hope, because it's already got a license in place. So I think both are possible. You just put the deals, put the numbers, if there's a refurb and a time delay involved in getting the license you need, you just put all that in your spreadsheet calculator. If the deal starts, it starts. If it doesn't start, it doesn't start. So deals can start both on the if it's already licensed and if it's not licensed. And to be honest, all of our properties that we're dealing with here in Wales have a license. They have to have a license. They have to have planning. So it's a big rigmarole. It's months waiting for planning if you go for a non-licensed property. So there are enough licensed properties. So we particularly just do licensed properties because why wouldn't you when it's already there? And not every HMO is running at optimum. And so that, because of that reason, that gives us scope. There are 2 ways in which they tend not to be running at optimum. One is that the rents being charged are typically lower than what we would charge. And 2, the voids and occupancy levels, the voids are higher and the occupancy levels are lower than what would be the case if we were managing it. So we're able to pay people more, pay landlords more than what they're currently receiving, and still make a profit because we're adding that extra value. And I think that's the real message for the whole of this, Jordan, is you've just got to deliver exceptional value, deliver more value than the agents that people are currently using, and that because you're delivering that value both to your landlords and your tenants, there's scope there to make money because you're providing an exceptional service. Okay, so that's both of the questions that we have had answered. I can't see any other questions at the moment. So, oh, excuse me. So sorry, guys. I couldn't see your questions. Oh, I need to learn how to use the scroll bar. Oh my gosh, I've missed all your comments. Oh, my giddy aunt. Okay, so Mike said, what is the extra value that attracts tenants to your managed HMOs? Mike, this is a great question, because sometimes I ask that myself, because our properties look great, but they aren't always the best that are on the marketplace right now. You have to think that with a rent-to-rent property, we're typically refurbishing somebody else's property at our own expense. So there's a limit to what we can put in, compared with when people are doing their own development. They tend to be, they can invest a lot more because they're getting the equity as well as the cash flow. So I think what's really important is to make your properties look as good as you possibly can, to dress them, to put the bedding, the sheets, and all of that, pictures. All of these things are relatively expensive. They make a huge difference. I'm going to see if I can get some. In fact, if you go to hmoheaven.co.uk, you'll see some of our pictures of our properties. You can see some, the rooms look cozy and they're kind of dressed, but it's not that sort of design, fashion forward sort of level that I see quite a lot and that I really like, because we have to go for what's cost effective, but what's cozy and what works. These rooms really let well. So I think that's the first thing, make it look as good as possible, make it be as good as possible, and provide a best of service as possible. So that starts right from spare room. So we've got Luke, our property assistant, so he's really proactive, and this is what you would be doing, because obviously before you get your first one, or just after you get your first one, the likelihood it's just you. It was just, well, I was the one who was doing that. So you're on spare room, diligently, you're replying to people politely, we've got templates for all this stuff now, but we still personalize it to the individual person. So I think it's service and making your room looks good, and it's also being quick on the maintenance and listening to what people say, making people feel heard. So I think that's the extra value, because sometimes what happens is people that are in our rooms, right, and they want to move out into their own place and they want to move into one of our flats. Take that as a real compliment. And we have people refer their friends to move in with us, and people move away from different cities and then move back in with us. And I think it's not that we always agree with everything a tenant might say, but we're always fair and we always act quickly, and we respect our tenants and we really value our tenants as much as our landlords. And we're always trying to provide, you know, exceptional service. That's what we're striving towards with everything we do. So thanks for that question, Mike. Okay, Sean. How do you use a calculator spreadsheet to work out what net profit the landlord is getting? Yes. Now, what we're doing, because we get so many questions all the time, and it just felt like it's all in my head in terms of how we're taking our landlords on, how we're onboarding our landlords. I've written it all down. I've put it into a little course that I'm going to be walking through with people on a weekly basis. We'll have the weekly online one-to-ones. I'm going to be saying, right, have you done this? Have you done that? It'll be step by step through every aspect of the process, from getting the deal on the table, to analysing the deal, to sealing the deal. So coming back to your, and I'll talk to you about that in a moment. Coming back to your question, Sean, yes, we do use a deal calculator. We've got a video actually which goes into our deal calculator. You can download our deal calculator to work out the net profit the landlord is getting. Yeah, the same spreadsheet that we work out to work out the profit that we're getting, we would work out what the landlord is getting. Now, the most important thing about this, Sean, is when you get the landlord call you in the first instance, is that you talk them through, ask them, may I ask you some questions about your property, and then ask them the questions. And one of the lot of questions that you're going to be asking is all about the utilities, and people are very open with it. We've got an idea of how much we're paying in other properties as well, so we can sense check it, that whether we feel that it sounds right or not. But people, I think, have been really upfront about what their costs are, and from that you can then work out what their net profit is. Great question. So Mike Cohan again, do you only target licensed HMOs, or do you target houses which is, so I'll cover that, Mike. in our area, we can only go for licensed HMOs. You can't HMO a non-licensed property without going through licensing and planning, and it's months at a time. So we wouldn't do that unless the parking was looking really good on the property, and in the location where we choose to do our properties, the parking is not great. So at the moment, we're totally focused on existing licensed HMOs, but there are lots of people making a great business from working on taking ordinary properties to licensed properties. So you can do both. You just got to know what your numbers are and see what works for you. So Marcus Peters, hi, hey Marcus, I see you've just introduced Amber to it. Sean Davis, yes please. Oh, was that about the questions? But surely, Steph, if you are going to match their rent, they will lie to you and tell you their rent is higher. Oh, good one, Jordan. Well, that is true. However, unfortunately, well, on their part, is that we're going to go there with them, aren't we? We're going to be taking over the tenants, potentially. So we're going to actually know what rent they're paying. And we're going to know how many tenants there are. They could lie about the utilities, but again, we've been running HMOs in this area and we kind of know what the utilities are. What we find is that when you've got them on the phone, when you've got people on the phone on the first call, when they're calling you because they've got a problem with their HMO, they really want to be upfront and tell you the ins and outs of it. In fact, they enjoy, people enjoy having somebody who's interested and who understands what the problems are, because we get what the problems are. We know how HMOs can go downhill. We've seen it so many times. So surely, yeah, I like that question. But typically, we have found that they don't do that. Hey, James, if you're still on, hello. That's our mortgage broker. But I'm not talking about it. I don't want to jinx it. We've got a deal going through at the moment. So keep everything crossed for us. Cannot wait to come on once we've got this property in the bag. But I want to wait till it's in the bag before I start talking about it. It would be great to see those costs itemized later to help understand all the costs that they have to deal with. Okay, Mike. We've got the deal analyzer spreadsheet. There's a whole video to it. I'm going to put a link to the video below. It's the same video because it's the same cost that you have, that your landlord has. Well, the same items on the list. It'll be different amounts because we also, when we're working out a deal, we put in 3% for management. Even though we are doing the management, we still have management costs. We've got our management software. We've got the time of our staff and our team and other costs. So that same spreadsheet will work on both sides. Brilliant. I think I've now covered all the questions. Did you create your own? So got a question from Sean Davis. Thanks for this, Sean. Did you create your own deal calculator spreadsheet that shows landlords their net profit? So what we do for that, Sean, is we've got a template. So when we go out to the viewing, okay, we then come back to our office, put all the rest of the numbers in the spreadsheet and work out what the landlord's net rent is. Then we put a little table into an email that we send to them, which sort of explains how amazing our service is, how it compares with what they've got now, and then we put the side by side. In fact, it's a bit like this. Let me see if I can show you on the screen. Let me see. I hope there's nothing. It's nothing personal to a specific property, nothing identifiable. So it's like that, Sean, that we would put something along those lines using, we don't put in mythical gross rent. I've just put that in to explain it to you. I've just put in what they're currently getting compared with what it would be under us, and what with us, the advantages, they get that every month. Like, for example, they could lose more tenants or they could lose money with what they're currently getting. And Ernest Ibe has asked, what systems do you have in place for those tenant emergency calls? Do you personally delegate, and what operating procedures do you have? Excellent question. Now, I know many people outsource the tenant emergency calls. So all our tenants emergency calls go to a landline number which diverts to a mobile. Now, we have very few emergencies, okay? So maybe 1 or 2 per year. But the reason we have very few emergencies is because we've now what's the word? We've now put this into our check-in. Our check-in, we've now got an online check-in checklist where we go through things in quite a lot more detail than we used to. So we've got our online management software. So nearly everything that the tenants want any maintenance on, they can put on the online management software. The one we use is called Arthur, but there are other great systems as well. They can put that on there with photos anytime, day or night. So they know that they should only call, you know, out of hours as an emergency if it is an emergency and it requires attention right then and there. So there aren't very many emergencies. So at the moment, we manage it within the team. So the number that the phone diverts to is one of us in the team, and we deal with that. But yeah, that's an easily outsourceable thing. Ernest, what do you do? Are you running a rent-to-rent at the moment, or I just wondered why you were asking if you get a chance to have a look. Right, guys, I think I've now answered all the questions. Sorry that I did not see them for such a long talk. You think I've never done this live business before. But thank you so much for joining me live. It's been fabulous and it's been great. Thanks for all the interactions. Give me a thumbs up before we go. I've also put together this package that I mentioned earlier, which is a fantastic opportunity. It's called Get Your First Deal. So it's everything that we've talked about and more. Tips, scripts, templates, everything to get your warm leads and to get those leads over the line with deals that work for you and also work for your landlords as well. So yeah, it's a full package, all written down, but we'll also have weekly coaching, because you may have already been on a training course and have all the information, but you're still not able to move forward. And partly that is just about the mindset, being in with a group of people who are doing it. So I think people will really like that accountability. So if you're interested in that, it's called Get Your First Deal, okay? Like it says on the tin. And I'm going to put a link in the comments of the video where you can register to get an email when that goes live. So just register there if you're interested. Now I'm going to bring it to a close. I'm interested in the first deal package. Oh, great, Jordan. I think you've already signed up. I think you were mentioning. So interested. Yeah, content as always. Oh, great content as always. Thanks, Ernest. Look, I'm gonna cut it off there, guys. If you really like this and you know other people who'd be useful, please share this with them or invite them to the group. We'd love to have them on board and involved. And I'm going to put the links below so you can sign up with the things that you are interested in and follow up. And I'm going to put links to the letter writing, the original letter writing YouTube video that I did, where you can download the original letters that we were sending out. And the deal calculator, Sean, that you wanted, I'm going to put that in below, which you can use to work out your landlord's net rent. So to summarize, guys, I know you all want to have your dinner and get on with your life and stuff. To summarize, going back to Jordan's question, to take on a property that is already an HMO, you're looking to offer something that's better than the net rent. And the most important way of sealing your deal is to get warm leads. Best way to get warm leads is direct landlord letters that meet a certain criteria, and that criteria is that they speak to what landlords want. Okay, so that's it for tonight, guys. I'll put the links in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, and thanks so much for the support and the company. I've really enjoyed having you along, and I will see you next week, guys. Bye for now. Bye.